Maybe I should come over there so I can. Good evening, everyone. How are you? This is back. Hello. So I am Renee Shepherd-Bates. I'm the director of our Shakespeare Prison program here at Detroit Public Theater. And thank you for staying for this post-show dialogue. I am going to just kind of kick it off. I'm sorry. I'm an actor and I have no idea how to use a microphone. Like it doesn't, never. No, apparently not. I'm just going to kind of introduce kind of what we're doing here for this talk back, and then I'm going to hand it over to our lovely facilitator here. So we have about a half hour together to talk about, first of all, this amazing piece of art that we just saw, right? Like, first of all, this play, yes. And also in acknowledging that this incredibly powerful play is not an easy play for the artist to perform, right? This is a hard thing that she's doing. It's hard to be in the audience, right? It's not easy to watch a play like this. experiences you've had that are reflected in the play. And so on that note, I just want us to all take a moment and kind of center ourselves in treating each other with compassion and humanity, because the system is something that robs people of that. And so, we're also not asking anyone to sit here in our anger, right? This play is a call to action, and so is this dialogue. This is the beginning of a conversation. It doesn't stop here, right? There are so many things to be done. There's a QR code that you'll see on your way out the door that you can scan and see a list that is by no means comprehensive, but there are a number of Michigan organizations that'll pop up when you scan that with your phone that are working to end mass incarceration. And those are some of them. You can work with them, volunteer with them, you can donate to them, because this fight takes money. And you can amplify their work, you can affect change, you can vote in every single election. So, vote in every single election. Right. With that, I'm going to stop talking because we only have our half hour together. And I'm going to turn this over to Cosine Welch. Cosine is a formerly incarcerated educator, artist, and activist, an alum of the University of Michigan Prison Creative Arts Project. Since being released in 2017 from a 22 to 40-year sentence he began at the age of 17, Cosine has been fortunate enough to construct the Theater and Incarceration and Atonement Project courses at the University of Michigan with Dr. Ashley Lucas, to manage a literary review for incarcerated authors as a managing editor of the Michigan Review of Prisoner Creative Writing, and as the former executive director of the nonprofit A Brighter Way, to provide insightful and effective programming, supports, and wraparound services to those returning home from incarceration in Washtenaw County. This mic is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Yes. A lot of applause, please, for Brandon. And especially for the show. I understand, like most beautiful things of art, it impacts us in different ways. And it impacts in ways we didn't expect. With that being said, I'd like to introduce our panelists and then start with the question of how that image of the play in itself impacts you personally, what you personally got from it the most. But first, let me introduce everyone to you. So, I'd like to first introduce you all to Cherie Ginger Summer. Now, Ginger's a love of Shakespeare in prison and remains very involved in post-release programming. She did 23 months at Women's Surrounding Valley Correctional Facility and is off parole for over 2 years. Congratulations, a round of applause for that. She recently celebrated the 21st anniversary of her 21st birthday with cake, ice cream, and vitamin D milk at 3 a.m. because she wanted to, and then well deserved. Our second wonderful panelist is Michelle Pearson. Michelle Pearson is returning deputy. Michelle Pearson is a returning citizen who is 16 was sentenced to life without parole. She served 34 years, and since her release, she has become a grassroots organizer in the community. She's often advocated with Silent Crime Inc. and Survivor Speak in an effort to end mass incarceration and life without parole sentences. Michelle is about to become publisher of her book, Life After Life. We're looking forward to that. Wonderful. Thank you for joining us. So much to unpack, so much that play touched on. So I want to first ask you as a start-off question, what are your initial thoughts and reactions about the play as a whole?
I love the play. It speaks volumes on how Black people in America, especially Michigan, are treated. It didn't tell the whole story of how it is in the Marne Valley because it was based on New York, but it's very informative on how we as a society as a whole are treated with incarceration.
Can everybody hear me okay without that?
Point, right?
Okay, awesome, thanks. Yeah, it really does, like she said, it's because it's in New York, it's a little different, but it does really bring attention to how unfairly prisoners are treated. I hear it all the time on the street how, oh, our prisoners eat better than our troops and stuff like that. And, you know, the meals may not be frozen and ready to eat, but that doesn't make the rest of it any better. You guys are all still treated like human beings out there. You're treated like heroes, whether you did anything hero worthy or not. Just because you have that uniform, just because we have that uniform, we're treated like trash. So it really kind of brought a light to that, like she said.
You know, it's much like the main character and the quote being woven. The experience of folks who are incarcerated is not just singular, right? There's a patchwork of folks who are there to help support you through and who also, unfortunately, suffer harm with you while you're incarcerated. Tell me a little bit about support systems that you found both inside, maybe unexpectedly, as well as you maybe had outside or developed over time to help you get through that moment of isolation incarceration.
The support system that you find inside, I can say from serving a life sentence at the age of 16, I found through older inmates when I walked through the door. It's not like that now. When I left in 2018, it wasn't like that. When I entered at 16, they allowed me to vent my anger, to lash out. Even some staff, the old-time staff did. So it was supportive to me because I was angry. I didn't understand why I was in this environment. Why was I here when I was protecting a loved one? So I didn't understand. But like you, I came from Washington County, so I grew to understand why. And I love people of all colors, but because I was a 16-year-old black girl whose mom died in her arms at 10, whose stepfather was a molester, who was protecting her 6-year-old brother, the prosecutors in Washington County said she's a black child of property, put her where we don't have to deal with her. So I was forced to deal with segregation in there, but I learned support instead of segregation. I had family support out here. I had phenomenal support, believe it or not, from a jury member who actually sat on my jury and felt that I should not have been found guilty. So I had a phenomenal support system to a degree. I learned to be my own support system in there by obtaining education. I became certified in law. I became certified in nursing. I became certified in training. I became certified in writing. I became certified in accounting, and I could go on and on. So that education allowed me to come out here and in turn become support to my community. And that's how I grew.
Please, same question. Community you found inside or the outside that helped you make it through?
Honestly, I found more community support inside than I did outside. I don't understand how people inside can act like it's the end of the world if they're not getting their box this quarter. You know, like I had, I sewed, I washed laundry, I barely survived on coffee and the cheapest hygiene there was, but, the people in there were, happy to lend a bar of soap or a cup of coffee or, whatever it was that you might need. Whereas the people on the outside could barely be pressed to take a phone call that they had to pay for. So I found a lot more support inside with the people who were more understanding of the things that I had gone through that made me make the choices that made me end up in prison. Because nobody wakes up one morning and decides to commit a crime because it's the greatest idea in the world. We've all been through stuff, and I think it's more the people that are going through it with you that can understand it than the people that never did. As hard as they might try.
No, that's true. It's very much an experience that an individual goes through and an individual tries to open up and share with the community for support. It is very difficult. It's very difficult. You guys spoke to something, both of you, that related to the socioeconomic status in a way, right? So we recognize as they played a wonderful job illustrating how the regular everyday lives that we live from day to day are affected by the carceral system, both large and both in minor ways and major ways, and how as we become involved in the incarceration system, we realize how much money is involved, how much capitalism is involved, how much it is in fact an industry. Tell me about the moment you first realized just how deep the impact of mass incarceration is as a system, both economically, socioeconomically, capitalism, how it affected you and how you were already kind of primed for it before even after going inside.
The prison system affects you as an inmate, but as a citizen too. And you may not realize that you are affected by this system, social, economically. It is a political game. They make billions upon billions. They will tell you, you're paying taxes, we're feeding them as they say, three hots in a cot every day. They're not. If I didn't have my siblings out here holding me down while I was in here, I would have starved. You all are paying for food that comes in on a truck that says not fit for human consumption. There are bugs, there is metal, there is glass. We get spoiled food, we get molded food. So yeah, we look forward to getting the secure packs, the boxes from our loved ones and friends out here. And that's why I do what I do. Um, Social, economically, even though I'm free, I'm not, because I still carry that 6-digit 1766620 on my back. I'm home, but they're still gaining money off of me as if I'm still occupying a bed in there. That's what they don't tell you. Even though we're out here, we're off parole, I'm not being counted as a taxpayer at home, even though I can vote. I'm being counted as a prisoner that's still being housed in the system, and I've been home almost 5 years. So you're basically paying for an invisible prisoner that no longer is in the system. So it's a, for lack of a better way to put it, it's a hell of an impact. Because I watch my people, whether you're black, brown, or white, you're paying for something that you should not be paying for. And a lot of our youth and a lot of our older people have said, why should we vote to end mass incarceration? Because you're incarcerated with that person that's incarcerated, and you're paying for the incarceration of a person that's not incarcerated, if that makes sense to you.
How is that?
How is it?
Yeah, explain that. When if you're home, how are they still being benefited from you being
Because
home?
the prison is connected to your state reps. Your state reps are connected to your senators. Your senators are connected to your governor. And it's called paperwork is traveling down the line, and they're not cutting that red tape. They're going under that red tape, and they're signing stuff that they should not be signing. And that's why we're so adamant about go out and vote. Go out and vote and let them know that your voice is being heard. We know what's going on behind the scenes. Now you have a broad spectrum, a bird's eye view of what's really going on because you have people in front of you that have lived it. We studied it in there. I had Michael Swatowski, who was a phenomenal senator, as one of my teachers, and he educated me to the highest degree. I honor him for that because he opened my eyes to a lot of things I didn't know as a child, especially as a young black girl that grew up in poverty. Had it not been for some of those, I wouldn't know that this was a political realm, that it was legalized slavery. It is. They're literally making 17 cents a day in there to wash clothes, to cook food, to warm up food. 17 cents a day to go clean up somebody's blood, feces, urine, who's mentally ill. People say mental illness is not real. It ties into everything that he just mentioned. It's real. It's real. I worked with them. I know. And I see them every day out here. It's real. And we need y'all to start waking up. Wake up, step up, and speak up. Let's help them that's left behind in the prison from where all three of us came to the ones out here that's headed to where we came. In my organization, our slogan is, friend, I think you've heard it. From the school to the prison pipeline, we want to cut those ties. We don't want our babies going from school straight to prison. We need to break that pipe in half and stop it where it stands now.
So it's the same question. When you realize just how your being in prison wasn't simply you making a decision, but was all these things in line and make it more likely for you to make that decision. Where were you? What was it? What did it feel like?
I've had in my past like a whole lot of issues, like bouts with chronic homelessness. Probably about 20 years ago, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I was homeless and I was hanging out with this friend of mine, and he said, "Oh, I'm going to go talk to my friend that works at the gas station." So we go up to this gas station, and I'm waiting in the parking lot while he goes in to talk to her, and the police pull up. And they say, "There's no loitering here." I'm like, "No, he's inside talking to the girl right now." And he didn't even go ask her. He just ran my name and took me to jail. Like, it's it's a crime to be poor. They want to take you off the street and put you somewhere where they can make money off of you because you're better. That's like a win-win for them. Now they don't have to see you outside and they can make extra money, get voted for more and whatever. So I think when they didn't even bother, like, I begged and pleaded with him, just go talk to her. And he wouldn't even do that. So I think that was when I really realized that this is not even something that's about me. Like, he's literally just trying to fill a quota.
So in this play, this piece did a wonderful job of really kind of bringing out the human aspect of what it's like, right? That just being incarcerated isn't a thing that happens outside of society. It somehow is not involved with different interactions between people that aren't the same ones we had before we went inside and the same ones hopefully we come home following. So I want you to talk more about what it's like to live and to try to maintain real relationships, right? To maintain sisterhoods and friendships and relationships with those who you love, both romantically and otherwise. What is it like to try to do that across the gap of space and time? From in there out here.
From being in there, my husband came to visit me faithfully, but we could not keep that connection. I didn't know when I was coming home. He didn't know when I was coming home. He made a child. I accepted it. When I did find out I was coming home, even though we stayed in touch, that spiritual, emotional, and mental bond, because there was no physical bond, was torn. Because when I said, I'm coming home August 28th, I was told there was someone else. So, of course, I was crushed. I have vows with you. I honor those. It's not easy. And I told my little brother when I came home, if you don't mind, can I give him a little background?
Please, please.
I caught my case because I was with my very first boyfriend at the age of 15. He became a drug addict. I personally have never drunk liquor, alcohol, drugs. I don't even smoke marijuana. Okay, I'm a nerd. But I was given the choice with him and his brother to go with them to commit an armed robbery, or they were going to kill my 6-year-old brother. So at the age of 16, raising a 6-year-old whose mom had just passed, which was my mom, I chose to fuck my brother up for safety and go. Unfortunately, when I went to give my victim the gun, after I told her I was being forced, it went off and shot her in her jugular vein. Foolish accident. Bad choice. Yes, I turned myself in, and as a result, I received life. I tell my brother now, he waited 34 years for me to come home. You knew me then. You don't know me now. I have family out here, but that's my family. That's my family because they watched me grow. They nurtured me. They loved on me. They watched me go from a kid into a woman, an educated woman who wasn't acting a fool anymore. Whereas when my brothers see me, I was a protector. I was a baby. I was learning life while I was raising a life. So it's not easy to maintain them bonds. Even now we clash, but we sit down and talk it out because, believe it or not, coming out after 34 years, you would have thought, I'll get therapy. They'll give me some help. They don't. And the story gets deeper and it gets deeper because I endured some things in there that they don't tell y'all about. Y'all don't hear about what goes on behind the doors and them walls in there. Y'all think we in there partying, cooking for each other, living life to the fullest. I didn't like being told I couldn't go to the bathroom because it was count time. I don't like hearing my baby sister, who just got 15 to 30, for protecting herself against the rapist, saying she only has 1 minute left on a 15-minute call, or I couldn't take a shower at a certain time because it was shift change, it's count time. I had to be on my bunk, this metal slab with a very thin mattress. At a certain time, I had to lay in a certain position for them to acknowledge that I was being counted. Out here, it's hard because you come out program to program. So I had to break that program and realize this is your home. You move as you wish to move. That is your car. You can go. It's not count time. I was hiding food in my room. I was basically dehumanized, if you will. I didn't understand what social interaction was. And to go in at 16 and come out with PTSD, I still, no matter how much I speak in front of publics and all that, I still find myself with the wall up of back. This is what they program you to do. I don't call it the Department of Corrections. I call it the Department of Corruptions because they will corrupt you mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically if you let them. But I had that will of fight. I remember her, and I watched her fight against the system. I remember her. She fought hard to survive in there, and I can say that because I stood at a distance and watched her.
I remember the day I came home, I went to my baby daddy's house, and she was 6 at the time, and he was like, yeah, you're gonna go pick Jamie up from school today. You're just gonna walk there all by yourself, and you're gonna talk to grown-ups, and they're gonna give you your kid. I was like, no, I'm not. You didn't give me a piece of paper. You're not gonna walk with me. I'm not wearing the right shoes. You can't do this to me. It's a whole, like she said, it's a whole different program. Once you're there for so long, it's just ingrained into you that this is what you do, this is where you go, this is how you have to do it. And if you want to do this, you have to ask. And if you want to do that, you have to ask. And if you want to do the other thing, you have to wear the right clothes. And if you want to go there, you have to make sure you have a piece of paper that says you can go there. You have to show it to everybody and you have to sign it. It's hard when you get out to reacclimate to that whole different program. Not as much as you say it when you're in there. Oh, I can't wait to do this. Oh, I can't wait to do that. I can't wait to do this. When you actually get there, it's scary, and it stays scary for a really long time.
Yeah, that leads me into what I think is going to be our final question. And coming home is a process on its own, right? For yourself and for those who you've been absent from. But like the play did a wonderful job in explaining, there's time that goes. And in that time, people change. Because nothing stays, constant is change, right? And so coming home, being both the different person in every way imaginable, was physically and mentally than you came home, and the world changing itself, right? And having to adjust. What are some of the unexpected difficulties you may have found in seeking housing and employment, and kind of the base needs when you came home?
Oh my God. I fought for housing, and everybody ran my background and seen this first degree murder. I ended up in an apartment. I don't know how many of y'all know where Southwest Detroit is. I ended up on Michigan Ave in the slumest of slum apartments, where I was literally scared to go outside my apartment when it got dark. I didn't know if somebody was going to grab me, if one of the crackheads was going to try to rape me. I was scared. So I went and got me a service dog, a pit mix Corso. So when I went out the door, she went out with me. But getting housing is so hard. I applied for a job at Dairy Queen. They told me I couldn't even scoop ice cream because I have a felony. When I went to get my ID, I brought my prison ID home, which I was told that they would honor that at the Secretary of State. It was like, we don't honor that. No, you can use that. I had to literally give them my birth certificate, my social security card. They had to call Lansing, Michigan, and get approval for me to get a Michigan State ID. I couldn't get it without their approval. Jobs they're plenty, but you have a felony. If they don't believe in second chances, you're not gonna get it. Credit, because I went in so young, and I'm not ashamed to say it now. I'm blessed. I went to a car dealership. My FICO score is an 8. There's no way I'm supposed to have a 2014 Kia Sportage Soul sitting outside right now. I was blessed enough to get that. I couldn't go and get a car. This car dealership got a bank to finance me so that I could build my credit for the first time in my life. It's hard. It's hard. So when y'all wake up in the morning and say, I got a job, I can go to the bank and draw out the bank account. Think about the people that's coming from behind them doors that don't know what it's like out here and what they're finna face. We need y'all to stand up, speak up, and fight this fight with us and make it more available to them, men and women. They need us out here.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question real quick?
Who you are? I'm sorry.
That's okay.
The question was,
Oh, people that change coming home and that's it. Okay, I got it. Yeah, you forget that you're the only one you're not the only one changing. You know, you feel like, especially when you don't get visits or lots of phone calls, or if your kids are real young, you know, like, you forget that you're gonna come home and everything's gonna be different. Like, new buildings are gonna be there, buildings are gonna be knocked down, people are gonna be older, they're gonna be doing different jobs, having different girlfriends. It's not just overwhelming to change, you know, your whole routine. It's overwhelming to have everything else change too. It's definitely a surprise. Definitely a surprise. And especially when you make a plan the whole time you're in there. Like, my plan was to go to community housing until I found out that community housing for females is the homeless shelter where I got in trouble in the first place. So I ended up at my baby daddy's house, which only lasted 3 months before I got a restraining order and had to go move into a tent down by the river. And then I lived in a tent in a shack down by the river for a year and a half waiting for housing. So yeah, it's a whole different world. Whole different world. You know what though? I'm stronger for it. If I can make it through that, I can make it through anything.
it's funny you say that, right? Because like one of the things this play really helped me, or I at least hope helped everyone realize, but helped reinforce me, was just how much power there is in that community. Both that you expect to find, and when those that you expect to find fall off, those that come around, right? And also how every action that we have in our individual lives really does affect our community. It affects the system of mass incarceration, even whether we know it or not, whether we purchase, who we spend our money with, who we don't spend our money with, who we do and don't vote for. And so I kind of want to take away from this talk the realization that this play helps us realize that we are not individuals, right? We are not, though Western society like to make us think you're separate, you got to go for yourself, you got to do about yourself. We do for ourselves to see everyone else suffer a consequence. We do for ourselves to see everyone else gain. So we have to remember that in this as well, we are not individuals. Nothing we do is separate from the system of this mass incarceration. And that we can be aware of it, we can talk about it, we can fund and purchase information about it, and therefore do our part in ending it. It doesn't have to be, because there was a time when it wasn't. You know, this is not something that's always been around, mass incarceration, as we know it is new. So I want to think, please.
Some of y'all out here probably in my age group and younger. I don't know if you remember the old adage, it takes a village to raise a child. We need that village to end mass incarceration. So where's that village? Where are those warrior brothers at? Because we need all y'all on the front line. Let's end legalized slavery. Let's end life without parole. Let's get these medically frail people home. People are dying daily in there. Y'all don't even know it.
Let's
And it's
support
still
them when they
being
get
counted.
here. Make sure you support them when they get here too. A lot of times we think we fought the fight to get someone out, and no. It's the problem is that we never stop fighting. As long as these laws on the book, as long as it's the outlook people have, it's always going to be a fight. When you come home, you're going to need help. You're going to need an army behind you in the community, equipped to patch. So let's please remember that. When folks come home, they still need your assistance. Thank you guys for coming out. It was a wonderful play.
Greater than me.
I love.
Thank you so much. Oh, well, right?